Welcome back. We're about to begin round 6 of the 150th Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series tournament in Columbus, Ohio. 5 rounds are gone. 4 rounds remain before we cut down to the top 128 players or those with 19 or more match points. This round, we're going to see another Shadow deck. We saw Shadows last time around, but this time we're going to finally complete the triumvirate of the new Duelist Alliance decks. We've already seen Teller Knights, we've already seen Shadows. We're going to finish the triangle with Yang Zing, the Synchro-based deck.
Yes, both of these duelists right now are currently undefeated with 4-0-1 records. They do have a draw, but neither one of them has any losses.
That draw makes it all the more important to keep on winning. 6-0-1 is enough to make the cut to day 2, but it would be better to have all the wins in the world.
It always is.
It'll be interesting to see how all of these main deck cards against Nekroz that the Shadal player is using will end up working out against the Yang Zing deck.
Indeed. Mistake is actually completely useless against the deck unless he has Zephyr Inu.
Yeah, I figure the cards like Maxi and Effect Layer might be decent against cards like Jiao Tao, right?
Yeah, both are good against that, but Aaron Murphy is taking precautions, at least against Effect Veiler in the form of Skill Prisoner, a card we haven't seen since Fire Fist.
Yeah, very unique choice. Similar to Breakthrough Skill, but specifically to beat targeted effects.
I remember that card, but I have not seen it in a while.
2 face-down cards from Nicholas Villanueva start things off for him. And Aaron Murphy matches with 3 face-down cards. No monsters yet.
It's unfortunate because he's drawn 2 copies of Maxi and 1 copy of Effect Veiler, really hoping that Murphy will go off and do something, but just nothing. And he's maining copies of Mirror Force as well. That's also not very good against Yang Zing.
No,
correct?
that in fact will actively help the Yang Zing deck.
Oh.
Yeah, one of the strong points of Shadow decks are their ability to tech against some of the most popular decks in the format. Of course, the risk associated with that, as Villanueva is about to find out here, is all of those cards that you included to beat your Necros decks or whatever other decks you anticipated playing against aren't so hot when you're playing against, the Yang Zing deck that you weren't expecting to duel against in the tournament. Yeah. And that will definitely work to Murphy's favor in this match.
So for everyone who's unfamiliar, the way the Yang Zing work is if they are destroyed by battle or card effect, well, when they are destroyed by battle or card effect, that's important. It's a when effect, not if. You can special summon a different one from your deck. If it's a 0 attack monster that was destroyed, you get to summon a new monster in attack position, and if it's a 0 defense monster, you do summon one in defense position.
So why is that distinction between when and if important, Jerome?
Well, what'll happen is a trigger effect that must be activated when something happens, must activate immediately after that thing actually happens. If it happens in the middle of a chain resolving, you will miss the chance to actually activate that effect.
It's super tempting right here for Nicholas to activate Raigeki because he doesn't know what his opponent's using and he could get a clean 2-for-1. And if his opponent happens to be on something like Shadal, the effects of them being sent to the graveyard are usually much worse than their effects when flipped. So it really shows his level of play that he's showing restraint and not activating Raigeki there.
And we've seen our first Zephyr monster of the day, and I think Villanueva has as well.
It sure appears that way, and based on that, he might be wise to the fact that Murphy is using a Yang Zing deck.
Yeah, now he's definitely not going to play the Raigeki.
Yeah.
Well, it is a 3rd monster to destroy.
Ooh, and he activates Torrential Tribute to clear the field of everything. And he chains to it. With the Yang Zing creation. It's going to let him swap out both of his monsters for basically 2 monsters of his choice. Mystical Space Typhoon is chained, destroying the creation. Very wise, because in general, if Yang Zing creation resolves its effect even once, you're in deepest, darkest trouble. Could be there anyways, as 2 of the 0 attack Yang Zing have just been destroyed. Puleo and Bixie. Puleo grants a synchro monster that uses it invulnerability to spell effects, and Bixie is much the same except for trap effects. Shadow Falco was destroyed on the other side.
So it'll special summon itself face down, but Nicholas won't be able to use its effect later in the turn. So if he has something like Sinister Shadow Game set, even if he flips it up, it won't work.
Correct.
It also allows Murphy to easily attack over it now.
And he likely will. He's running the full 3 copies of Swanny, Fire of the Yangzing. Only one Bian, which is the level 3 Earth monster that grants your Synchro invulnerability to battle. He's also running a Tauti, the level 5 Dark monster, that prevents control, or not control, prevents possession of your monster from changing.
Murphy now special summons 2 more Yangzings in his deck to replace the 2 that were destroyed.
Swanny and Bijan.
One's got 1,600 attack, the other's got 1,900. Both are more than a match for Falco.
Interestingly enough, he decides to use Raigeki instead of just destroying it in battle.
It seems like a move to press for damage, but at the same time, I'm curious as to why he used it, or why he flipped Mistake there.
He's probably going to do that to try to force the Yangzing to miss their activation timing.
Oh, that's a super heads-up play.
That was a great play.
That's basically all Mistake is good for in this matchup.
Yeah. Well, it's going to lose out to MST anyway, once the players realize that. Or, oh no, I guess the Mystical Space Typhoon was changed onto the Mirror Force. That makes sense.
Yes.
Knowing that Mistake was useless against his deck, there was no reason to try to remove it. Murphy luckily still has Soul Chargers in hand, though, so he can revive as many Yangzings as he would like to pay for and then synchro away. But Nicholas finally found a fusion, so now he can make use of all those hand traps that otherwise would have not been the best, such as Effect Veiler Maxi, and start fusing away.
Yeah. He's had to use the Effect Veiler to make El Shaddai Construct. In this case, he's running 2 copies of Shadow Dragon in his deck, so he could take a shot at the trap cards on Murphy's side of the field.
Looks like he drew an Effect Veiler.
He drew the last Effect Veiler / Maxi-esque effect in his deck, so now he has none left to draw.
It's probably good news for him.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how powerful those are here.
Construct's effect sends Falco to the graveyard.
Trying to just gain back some of the advantage he's lost.
Now, Murphy is running a full complement of Raigeki and 2 Dark Holes. So
I like that.
Despite getting all of that back, it might just go away next turn.
Which wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing, though, because the Construct will add back the El Shaddai fusion he used. And I guess the Falco more so will just special summon itself in face-down defense position, so it can easily be destroyed by battle. However, the fact that the Construct gets back the fusion spell is very key.
2,800 damage to Murphy. And he takes a good look at his graveyard.
Trying to figure out exactly what he wants to soul charge back.
What he really needs is a tuner. He's got the full complement of both Chiwen and Jiaotu, and he hasn't seen any of them.
Activate Soul Charge.
How much is he going to pay?
As much as he can.
Targets all 4. Maxi is chained.
Okay, so even though he pays 4,000 life points and special summons 4 monsters, Villanueva only gets to draw 1 card off of Max C since they're all special summoned at the same time.
And better for Murphy is he won't be able to take any damage off of Construct. Since all those monsters are special summoned, even if Construct were to run them over, which could normally be fatal since he only has 1,200 life points left, and the difference on Bian is 1,200. Construct's effect will actually keep Murphy in the game.
It's true. It'll destroy it before the damage is dealt. So that's actually interesting. Normally that effect is used as a perk to the Construct to take down any special summoned monster. In this scenario, it's actually a drawback.
I think here Nicholas might try to synchro summon Leo. Oh, but he chose not to. I was going to say that if he tried to synchro summon Leo, the Keeper of the Sacred Tree, he could have a better shot to trying to deal the lethal game damage. And then worst comes to worst, he can use the El Shaddai fusion to fuse away the Leo into a Shekinah in defense position if Murphy has something like Mirror Force. But Black Rose Dragon seems like just an effective way. However, it will still cause all the Yangzings to trigger, correct? Unless he...
Correct.
A Jar of Avarice in response. With exactly enough to pay.
Yep,
5 spell and trap cards back to the deck.
And they're all good ones, too.
They are, and he gets to draw a new card in their place.
That's the one thing. If you Synchro Summon Black Rose Dragon, that's nothing that's going to trigger any of your own effects.
Are the Yang Zing effects once per turn for each?
For each one, yes.
I think his plan involves Black Rosing and then following it up with Raigeki. Because
Yeah.
you'll also get to send a card with Squamata here. And it seems like that's what's gonna happen. He can also chain a Maxi if he has another one in his hand. Yep.
Yikes.
Get 4 draws.
Yep.
It's big money.
At this point, you might as well just make him draw his whole deck. Why not?
Yeah.
That is 3 Pot of Greed's worth of advantage in 1 card.
The thing that's lacking here is tuners.
Yeah.
Very impressed with Villanueva's play during this duel. He's really thought out all of his turns.
Yeah, he actually knows what the cards do,
That's always a
which
plus.
is a huge advantage when you're playing against a deck like this.
Yeah. I'm also still super impressed by his use of that Mistake, a card that is typically not very useful in this matchup. He managed to activate in a way that would deprive Murphy of his monster's effects. In case anyone at home is still uncertain about exactly what happened in that particular situation, what happened was, since he was able to flip Mistake and then chain Mirror Force, all of the monsters were destroyed, and their effects could not activate because they weren't sent to the graveyard as the last thing to happen. I think Jerome can explain that a lot better than I can, as far as the actual mechanics of the game is concerned, but that's the gist of it.
So we've got Pixie in attack position, Chiwen in attack position. And it's looked like he's going to take Zephyr Inu in defense position. And with Suani, he gets Jiaotu. Now the great thing about how Murphy's played this is that even if he does get nailed by the follow-up Raigeki, only one of those cards that's on the field right now has already used its effect this turn.
Right. Although I don't know how many more monsters he wants to special summon,
Yeah.
since he's still under Max C.
As many as it takes to not lose this turn.
Yeah. That's a fair plan.
Leaving the Chiwen in attack position, though, might leave him open to just getting wiped out by some random fusion that's not Construct.
I completely agree. Well, he's only at 1200. We know that Villanueva drew Mathematician, right? Has he normal summoned yet? Oh, he tributed away
he
the
tributed the
construct. Yeah,
Construct
but he
piece.
drove Shadal Fusion, so he could just summon a monster. Like the regular Shadal Fusion, since did he already use El Shadal?
I do not believe he did. He got back El Shadal and he drew an El Shadal, but he has not played one this turn.
I think he's resolving his Squamata effect now.
And it looked like he wanted to go play that Raigeki anyways.
Yeah.
Even though there's absolutely no need to do so.
Hey, it's hard to resist drawing more cards.
Yeah. If there's anywhere to just draw 7 cards in 1 turn
Yeah,
because
right.
of what your opponent does, it's the feature match table.
Yeah.
And he sends Shadow Fusion to the graveyard, with his deck now looking remarkably thin for a game that's only been about 6 turns.
Soon enough, his hand's going to be bigger than his deck.
No, I think he's realized that he doesn't need to use the Raigeki.
Yeah. It's so hard to resist drawing
Yeah.
more cards, though.
He had to really think about it, though.
It's like drawing cards. How can you go wrong?
Yeah, usually that's how it is, but resisting there is showing that diligence.
You've got to be diligent at this time of day.
Ooh.
Synchroing response.
Synchro response. Now he can fuse from his deck?
Yes, he can. However,
Yeah.
he used I know he didn't use the Jiao Tao.
Nope. He used light, water, and earth.
Okay, so now the effects of light, water, and earth monsters cannot be activated thanks to the new Yang Zing Synchro.
Correct.
Light, water, and earth. Let's see if that's going to have any impact here.
That will basically keep Construct from being useful in this scenario.
Yeah, that's all I could think of.
Does the Synchro do anything when it's destroyed?
Yes, you get to add a tuner to your hand, and it also lets you add monsters to your hand, and it destroys things in battle.
Okay, so then the Raigeki's still here. The monster doesn't provide you with another defender like the other Yang Zings do then?
No, but he's still got Jiaotu, which has not used its
That's one
ability
more.
yet.
Yeah, this is tough because even if he uses Raigeki... Oh, no, actually, because he can sequence it where he activates Raigeki. The Jiao is destroyed, gets another monster. The Synchros effect doesn't necessarily matter right now because it's just not another monster in play.
Yeah.
He plays Shaddoll Fusion to summon a monster. Oh, he's already
played
Shaddoll
Shaddoll
Shaddoll Fusion will give a
Fusion.
monster. That monster can attack over that Yang Zing, and then during the battle phase, he can play the El Shaddoll Fusion that he hasn't used yet, and then summon another monster, right?
Believe it or not, there's yet another wrinkle in this.
He's already used El Shaddoll Fusion this turn?
Chi-Wen has another ability
Okay.
that lets him put it back into play when one of his
When it's
monsters
destroyed,
is destroyed.
that's right. I think then it would have been correct here for him to summon a Winda instead, because then his Raigeki would have made sure that Chi-Win doesn't activate.
I agree.
Correct?
Can he still summon Window?
Probably. I
He
think he's
can.
got
He
it.
can just use the El
Yeah.
Shaddoll
He has
Fusion
the El-
outside of battle instead. Yeah, he has the materials necessary to a Hedgehog
Yeah.
and a Squamata in hand, but he'll need to realize that before he activates the Raigeki so he can make sure the Winda sees the first special summon in order to stop the Chi-Win from
Right.
activating.
And
I
it
think
looks
he does.
like he
Uses
does.
it.
Yeah, this is really, really good play.
Yeah. He's playing very well.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Especially against such a unique strategy like Yang Zing that's not necessarily that popular. Most players would falter here and just not realizing everything that can happen.
Yes. And Murphy's playing very well as well. I expect part of his success, though, is attributable to the fact that many of his opponents have not been able to play at the level that Villanueva is playing at because they are so unfamiliar with his cards.
I completely agree.
In this case, though, he's just been on the wrong end of a Max C.
He definitely has. I thought that card wasn't going to be so good in this matchup. I was dead wrong.
It's very good against Jiao Tao.
Yeah.
So even then,
And Murphy realizes that because of Winda, he's not going to be able to special summon enough defenders
Yeah.
to stay in the game this time.
Yeah. I didn't know why I thought Maxi wouldn't be good against a deck where every monster special summons.
yeah, similar to Reborn
Yeah.
Tengu and how effective it was there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's definitely a good card here.
So looking at Villanueva's side deck, what do you think he can bring in to make his matchup a little better? And then same thing for Murphy.
Denko Sekka's probably your best shot there.
I'd agree with that.
The Mystical Space Typhoons to try to take out Creation before it could do too much damage.
That seems good.
What do you think about Mind Control as a way to take the Yang Zings and possibly exceed with them or use them for his own?
There's a good chance it won't matter because making your monsters immune to spell cards is pretty important right now, especially with all the Raigekis, Dark Holes, Book of Eclipse, Book of Moon that Necros decks are throwing around. So I don't know that Mind Control will be particularly useful if Murphy can get his plays going at all, but it could help in disrupting them before they can start.
I can understand that. And you're saying that because he will synchro summon using the Puleao?
Right.
All right.
On the other hand, Murphy has a couple defusions in there.
Interesting.
Those are mainly used for Masked Heroes since you're not going to get anything back off of them. But I wouldn't be shocked if he gives them a shot here.
Yeah, since he did put it in his side deck, I expect that he will use it against Shadows. I don't think a lot of players are side decking cards that they believe to be silver bullets against E-Heroes. E-Heroes are a powerful deck, but not one of the most popular decks in this weekend's tournament. And typically you want to either dedicate really powerful cards against the most popular decks or dedicate cards to your side deck that can be used against multiple decks. So since the defusion is in his side deck, I would expect that Murphy does intend to side deck it in.
Fire Hand and Ice Hand could theoretically be useful here, but once your opponent knows what you're playing, they're going to put a much higher premium on summoning El Shaddoll Winda.
Yeah.
And she basically wrecks the entire hand strategy.
I think that's exactly why he has defusion, because Winda does cause a lot of problems for the Yang Zing strategy. And I know that they use the Tao Ti Shadow of the Yang Zing, right,
Yes.
as a way to crash into
Crash
the
with
Winda.
it.
But the defusion won't allow him to get anything back, right? Because it's if you have it in your graveyard, the opponent doesn't get anything. So if he just defuses the Winda, it'll just cleanly remove it. So I actually think defusion's probably the best card he could ask for in this
Let's
matchup.
take a look at it just to make sure. I have a suspicion that it might not work that way.
Yeah. I think how defusion works is that if you return your own monster to the extra deck, that you'll get to special summon your own from your graveyard. However, if it's your opponent, no one special summons anything.
If all the
Yeah.
fusion materials ever used are in your graveyard, you can special summon all of them.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure it's also ruled that even if you defuse your opponent's monster while you have the same materials you used in your graveyard, so example, like they use a a Shaddoll Beast and an Effect Failure to summon it, and even if you have your own Shaddoll Beast and an Effect Failure, you won't be able to get them back. They have to be the exact ones.
The actual monsters, and they can't have moved anywhere in between.
Correct. So now, do you think Fire and Ice Hand might come in for Murphy? As we were discussing earlier, if a Shadow player uses Crush Card Virus, you can send them to the graveyard and activate their effects. Now, doesn't look like Villanueva actually has Crush Card Virus.
Nope.
Yeah. I think
but, you know, Murphy doesn't know that.
I think the reason that he wouldn't want to bring in Fire and Ice Hand is because Villanueva is most likely to take out cards like Mistakes, so he has significantly less back row that are susceptible to Ice Hand, and even then, Villanueva is going to prioritize playing around the set monsters as if they're Yangzings, and in that way also plays around them like they're Fire and Ice Hand. So he's going to prioritize cards like Winda, make sure maybe he can make a Dweller, or do whatever he can to not trigger their effects.
Do you think that the potential counter-strike as a result of Crush Card Virus will factor in into his decision of whether or not to put in the Fire and Ice Hand, even if it's suboptimal in the actual gameplay? The counter effect against Crush Card, which could otherwise be devastating, might make it worthwhile.
That could be true. I'm not. Do the Yangzings have to be sent from the field to the graveyard, destroyed from the field to the graveyard, or is it just when they're destroyed? If it's just when they're destroyed, he can just send the Swanee and Bian from his deck instead.
I believe they have to be on the field.
Okay.
Yes, so card you control.
Okay. I mean, I'm not necessarily sure, because the reason you'd bring in Fire and Ice Hand, which we just previously evaluated them as suboptimal, right? Because he probably takes out Mistakes.
Right.
So then you're bringing them in on the very weighted coin flip that he draws Crush Card Virus and then is able to resolve it so that you can use the Fire Hands to destroy a monster that he hopefully has in order to special summon Ice Hand. And all of those involve, to me, assumptions, hopefullys, and ifs, where I don't think it's worthwhile.
Meanwhile, Villanueva has opened extremely well with both Mathematician and Shadow Fusion. He sniped a Skill Prisoner and attacked into Chiwen, which brought up exactly what you said earlier. Tauti is there, and it's going to be able to crash for Winda unless Villanueva has something else up his sleeve, like an El Shaddoll Fusion.
Yeah, I remember playing this matchup from the Shaddoll side back when Duelist Alliance was first released, and it was very, very easy for Shaddoll. But once the Tautai came out of Secrets of Eternity, I believe?
New Challengers.
New Challengers. Then I realized that the matchup is actually not nearly as favored as I thought previously, because I couldn't just recklessly send out a Winda and expect that to win me the game because of Tautai.
Murphy's drawn into Defusion here, and it offers him an interesting choice of whether to crash the Tauti into Winda or Defuser to stop the Shadow Fusion from getting back into Villanueva's hand.
That is interesting.
Personally, I prefer cutting them off from one fusion spell if at all possible. You don't know how many they play, but a lot of people skimp out on them. So if... Oh, that's an interesting
Yeah, didn't even
way to
need
go
to
about
use
it.
either. I still think I agree with your play, though, with the defusion, because cutting off that fusion spell is so crucial.
Although now he still has the defusion, he can just use it on the next fusion monster that's summoned.
Yes, but then that also means that Villanueva will be able to trigger more Shaddoll effects with the Shaddoll fusion. So, because he gets to trigger additional effects, he's getting to use cards in a way that he wouldn't have been able to otherwise if he would have used the defusion.
That is true, but as you mentioned before, most of their flip effects are stronger than their sent to the graveyard effects, and he knows not to summon monsters from his extra deck while his opponent has the Shadow Fusion in hand. So it's an interesting play. I kind of like the way he did it.
So the thing that kind of bugs me a little, and I think he's realizing this right now, is that the monster he summons has to come out in defense position. So he's not going to be able to just run that Falco over unless he has another monster.
I think he did have another monster, but I wasn't able to catch what it was. So hopefully it is not Bixie or Pulao, something with weak attack, and rather it's a Biana or a Swanee.
He's looking to get the level 6 Zephyr Inu out of his deck. And he's also triggered his Chiwen effect. So that'll get him level 7.
It's looking pretty good now.
But it plays into the Shaddoll fusion that just got added back.
Right into it.
Yeah, this is exactly...
That is...
Because even though he knows to play around Shaddoll fusion, it's not always optimal. And to get ahead, he might need to Synchro Summon because of how powerful the Yang Zing Synchros are. And this situation is exactly that, where he wants to Synchro Summon very, very badly, but because he didn't use the defusion and used Breakthrough Skill instead, he won't be able to. Like here, he could just have Breakthrough Skill and the Synchro, and his opponent wouldn't have Shaddoll Fusion in hand using the defusion, which seems like a little, But Clearwing Synchro Dragon.
Clearwing Synchro Dragon
is a good one.
Out. Now, it's kind of unfortunate that he wasn't able to get the plus 500 buff onto it from Swanee, but it's still pretty darn good in this scenario. Now, keeping the defusion in this case, since he's got Clearwing Synchro Dragon out, he could let his opponent fuse from deck and think that he's going to get all these free cards out of nowhere, and then just defuse whatever comes out and cut him off of the fusion chain that way. So it's still an option. Falco's destroyed. The question is, now you risk Mystical Space Typhoon.
Yes, exactly.
You already know that he plays it. And he probably sided in the third one.
I feel like that's a common situation to be in, where you're just terrified of Mystical Space Typhoon.
It's also arguable that the breakthrough skill wouldn't have been that good with Clear Synchro Dragon. Like, because they both basically do the same thing with effect negation. Not the same thing, but similar. Whereas defusion acts as removal with the effect negation. So like Jerome mentioned, how that's a much more effective combination than the breakthrough skill would have been.
Okay, so
he goes with Mathematician and a Squamata to drop El Shadal Shekinaga, which has more attack points and does not have to activate an effect.
I believe he's considering summoning Ice Hand.
Yeah.
Reading to make sure. If he summons Ice Hand and attacks, he's going to get blown out by that defusion. That defusion's actually just going to win him the game, because he defuses the Shekinaga, gets rid of that. Ice Hand can't activate its effect because there's no spell or trap card to destroy.
Yeah. So I guess he did put the Ice Hand in.
Yeah. He just goes straight to Synchro Town.
As you mentioned.
It makes more sense for Villanueva to put it in.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right, actually. That definitely does make more sense.
Interestingly enough, with the Squamata effect, Villanueva sends Shadow Beast, not Shadow Dragon.
I mean, it's probably because he has a Shadal Dragon in his hand, so we don't know how many he has left in his deck, and he might want to try to resolve his Ice Hand, so that could be why. But now he's drawing a Fire Hand.
Yeah, that did not help.
He's moving into the front. Murphy can't be happier to see this.
Yeah, right he goes with the Ice Hand.
Writing's on the wall here. It's going to be exactly what you said happened.
My God.
And he doesn't have the El Shadal fusion to get out of this.
This is such a huge shift in tempo.
That's a massive, massive. Wow. Let's go ahead and take a look at Clearwing Synchro Dragon, because I think it's even better in this situation than we already think. We know it can negate the effect of a level 5 or higher monster that activates on the field, but it also negates the activation of a monster that targets exactly one level 5 or higher monster on the field and no other cards. So that Fire Hand is also not useful.
This is fantastic. It also makes cards like Shadal Dragon its set flip effect to return the Clearwing Synchro not work.
Not going to happen.
Right. So since Clearwing Synchro Dragon can negate a monster's effect of any level that targets exactly one level 5 or higher monster, can it also negate the Fire Hand?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tough to get rid of.
Yeah, but luckily Villanueva drew Shadal. Or no, I guess he's not summoning. I was going to say you could set the Hedgehog in order to find another copy of Shadal Fusion, which seems very good, but I'm not sure what he set instead.
It'd have to be pretty darn good, because if not, it's going to get negated.
It might be Shadal Falco. That's the one that makes the most sense to me, because it wouldn't be Dragon or Squamata, because those would be negated by Clear Synchro.
Is the Fire Hand still in his hand, or did he set that?
Probably isn't. And also the same reason as before, like you don't want them to be negated.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like setting it would be a good play.
He's also got Skill Prisoner as well, still hiding out in his graveyard.
He did set it.
He did set the Fire Hand.
This is strange. If Murphy wouldn't have summoned the BN, then
he would have been just fine.
Yeah.
Gave back the advantage that he had gained off of the Fire Hand defusion play.
The Fire Hand also makes the Yangzing mistiming, right?
Correct.
I think that's a big reason why Villanueva put it in.
Destroy, then summon.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, you're right. If he hadn't summoned that Yangzing, the Clearwing Synchro Dragon would have just negated the Fire Hand's effect, and he would have been in awesome shape. Now he has the Ice Hand there against a back row.
This is very good, too, because now his Hedgehog will hopefully resolve to find him a Shadal Fusion. Then he can attack with the Ice Hand, or attack with the Ice Hand first to try to get rid of the back row so the Shadal Fusion can go through without worry.
Sets a monster and attacks into the set, which is Shadal Hedgehog.
I think it's also interesting that he set a monster here, because unless his back row is chainable somehow, or the monster can get around Fire Hand, Villanueva can attack with the Ice Hand into the Clearwing Synchro, destroy the back row, summon a Fire Hand, attack with that, destroy the set monster, which if it's a Yangzing will miss timing. and then special summon another Ice Hand, which he can then use as a fusion material or...
He'll be out of Ice Hands. He's only got 2 total. So
Is this the second
his
Ice
last
Hand?
Ice
Okay.
Hand. The first one ran into his defusion trap.
Okay. Oh, you're right. Well, at least he'll get another Fire Hand then, right? Because the Fire Hand will deal with the monster. Oh.
Oh.
So it's exactly as before. He's just...
Okay.
Fell for the same trick twice.
Yeah. It's much less brutal this time.
Yeah, this time, though, he's got El Shaddoll Fusion that he can chain.
Yeah, and the breakthrough skill, you know, he's effectively just throwing it away so that the Ice Hands effect can't activate. So he's not getting that added benefit of defusing a monster or getting rid of a tremendous threat. So which is a great play,
Yeah,
but it's nowhere near the impact of the previous defusion.
It's the one way that breakthrough skill can actually negate Ice Hand.
Yeah. Leaving it with no targets to destroy.
It's interesting here, though, because Ice Hand is still basically accomplishing what Villanueva really wanted to do. Although he's not getting the Fire Hand, he's still just removing the set back row.
That's true. And as we can see now, he can also use it as a fusion material with El Shaddoll Fusion.
Nautilus stops spell and trap cards from summoning monsters from the hand or graveyard, so Soul Charge doesn't help anymore.
Okay, let's...
Is Murphy playing cards like Call of the Hunted or anything similar? No, right? No. So it's strictly the Soul Charge?
What about Yangzing Creation? Can we stop that?
No.
Nope, that summons from deck.
Yeah, it's only things summons from hand or graveyard? No.
Hand or graveyard.
Yeah,
it's
hand or
spells
graveyard.
and traps from hand and graveyard.
Yes.
All right.
And he has sent Shadow Core to the graveyard with the effect of Squamata. That'll let him get back Shadow Fusion.
So now he can use a full-powered Shaddoll Fusion if he wants to. But it's still during the battle phase, so he's going to make this attack.
He attacks into Bixie.
Is El Shaddoll Nautilus not strong enough to attack the Clearwing Synchro?
It is. It's 2,700 versus 25.
Oh, yeah, I guess he wants to do it in order to make his Shaddoll Fusion still full power. He's just going to ignore the Clearwing Synchro.
That makes sense.
He's got to be careful with it, though, depending on what he summons.
Exactly.
It'll likely be a second Chekinaga.
It's also worth noting Nautilus's effect is essentially irrelevant because even if Murphy does draw Soul Charge, he can use the breakthrough skill to negate Nautilus's effect on his own turn.
This is also a reason not to summon El Shaddoll Chekinaga because of the breakthrough skill in the graveyard.
Right. That really limits the value of the effects that can be used on Murphy's turn.
Those traps from the graveyard are really give you something to think about.
Yeah, and also they work very well against El Shaddoll Winda. Like the breakthrough skill being able to solve that huge problem that Yangzing had, as we mentioned before.
All right, here comes the Shaddoll Fusion.
And he's got multiple effect failures in his hand, but that skill prisoner is still lurking in the graveyard as well.
Yeah. Can he activate one effect failure and then in response skill prisoner's chain and then chain a second effect failure? Does the skill prisoner stop that at all?
I think he can do that.
Okay.
I
don't believe it stops it either.
Okay, so we fused together Falco and what was the other monster?
Presumably Mathematician or Maxi.
Mathematician. Special summons Falco back to the field with Falco's own effect, and Naga comes to the field as a result of the Shaddoll Fusion summon.
I don't believe, is Villanueva not using any copies of Pero Cerberus?
He is not.
That's interesting. That's a very, very popular card as a way to out the Jinlock with Mathematician, and especially right here, he could have just sent the Pero instead of the Mathematician, because even then, Mathematician can just be used as an out to like a pesky trap card you don't want there anymore, or whatnot.
The Cerberus wouldn't work on Clearwing Synchro Dragon, though,
Correct.
so it'd still target.
Yeah.
And he checks out his extra deck. It looks like he has Jiaotu in hand.
All right, so he's negating the Shekinaga's effect.
Shekinaga's effect is the one that stops the effects of special summon monsters.
If Villanueva has a set El Shaddoll Fusion, he can still successfully resolve the Shekinaga, though, right? Because he goes to special summon, activates whatever effect he's trying to, activates Shekinaga, and then chains El Shaddoll.
No, that would not work.
Why not?
Any effect of the monster that's activated while it was face up on the field, even if it's off the field later, like an Exiled Force, Rescue Rabbit, etc., still be negated by breakthrough skill. Because Yu-Gi-Oh!
That makes sense. Oh, I guess it's also not in response. That makes it. Yeah, you're right. I'm just. Yep.
Jiaotu and Swanny are going to make something big, something with plus 500.
Looks like Yazi. Nope.
Goyo Guardian.
6, a 3,300 attack Goyo Guardian isn't anything to scoff at.
That's looking pretty good.
Can attack over that Shekinaga.
He's just loading up on big piles of monsters summoned from his extra deck.
Yeah, he's done a really good job just ignoring the secondary effect of Shadow Fusion. He's let Villanueva basically use Shadow Fusion to its fullest power, and he's doing fine.
Yeah, but I think he's going to run out of ways to make this better very soon, because if he attacks here, he'll get another Shadow Fusion. And before, Villanueva ignored the Clear Wing Synchro because he could just establish another monster and it didn't matter.
That's true.
But at some point, he's just going to kill the Clear Wing Synchro, or try to. But I guess it might be difficult for him, depending. But no, he still has the El Shaddai Noyatilis.
So now, Effect Valor came down to negate Goyo Guardian's effect. Does it keep the 500 attack boost?
Yes, it's not actually an effect.
Right, so that's kind of a lingering effect from a different monster.
And you can't steal the Shekinaga.
Right, because his effect is negated. Yeah, it's interesting how they're kind of playing each other. Villanueva is letting Murphy keep his Synchro Monsters so he can Shadow Fusion. And then Murphy is summoning his Synchro Monsters in spite of that because he knows they're so powerful. So they're kind of both trying to overpower their opponents by bringing out their deck's strongest cards. And it's interesting to see how that will resolve itself.
There's not much left in that deck.
Villanueva might just not have anything left. It may be forced to fuse with one of his monsters in his hand or on the field.
Yeah, if there aren't any Shadows left in the deck, well, he's got 3 on between his hand and field.
This is a pretty interesting strategy. I'm not sure if this is what Murphy was going for, or if he's done it previously in the tournament, but just strictly running your opponent out of monsters so their Shadow Fusion eventually doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like a viable strategy when you have Yang Zings that just replace themselves whenever they're destroyed. Yeah. You can go on for a long time.
Especially when you have 3 copies of Yang Zing Path, which we've seen none of this entire match.
Right. Yeah, and they just keep going back. It's a little bit like Burning Abyss back when they were very popular.
Yep.
Frequently, you would wait for them to just run out of monsters because they kept replacing themselves.
Yeah. Where does the chain Falco and then Construct, and Construct is negated and destroyed by Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Incidentally, that also ups Clearwing Synchro Dragon's attack points by 2,800.
Until the end of this turn?
Until the end of this turn, yes.
Okay.
So he's bought himself another turn.
It seems interesting that Villanueva would not attack with the El Shaddai Noyatalis first, and then Shaddai Fusion in main phase 2.
And Murphy's like, okay. I mean, I'm okay with that, but what are you doing? He knows. El Shaddai Fusion is next.
Chaining El Shaddai.
That's what, a dragon, and the core will bring out yet another construct.
Oh.
That one's going back to the extra deck.
I don't know.
Do not collect a Shadow card from your graveyard.
I don't know if the viewers can hear that, but people watching in the audience were also impressed by that move.
Now he still gets one back from the core.
Yeah. He's really running out of resources here.
Yeah, he's running out fast.
That's both of the defusions.
Yeah. But on the other hand, look at Murphy. He has no hand. And he's got 2 Synchro Monsters that, if they're destroyed, that's it. They're gone.
Yes, but one is a 3,300 attack Goyo Guardian.
Yeah. Let's see, he's...
What's left? Like, you can El Shaddai and Noyatilis and Falco into another Noyatilis.
Or a window, possibly, but...
Oh, wow.
My goodness. That completely renders the Falco useless, completely stops the Noyatilis from getting back any other Shaddai card.
Well, can the Falco still special summon itself?
Yes, it can, but it can't special summon something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Where did that Necro Valley come from?
Oh, yeah, I guess it is down there. I
2
didn't even look
copies.
at it. I stopped at defusion before I got to the last
2
card.
copies of Necro Valley in his side deck. That's interesting. So now, what does Villanueva need here? Raigeki? Raigeki seems like it would be pretty good.
He needs to go to game 3 and hope. But
he's going to have to go with his last construct.
And there we go again. Clear Wing Synchro Dragon.
Showing...
I'm really impressed by Clear Wing Synchro Dragon in this duel.
The craziest thing about can't do that.
Necro Valley. Oh,
so that thing is gigantic now. It's going to smash a Noyatilis.
Yeah.
He's just resolving the effect of his Shadal Falco. Jeez.
That's a lot of damage.
Tremendous.
And the Falco's gone
Gone.
too.
But it can't be special by Goyo Guardian, right? Because of Necro Valley?
Correct.
I was going to question why he didn't attack over the Anoyatilis with the Goyo Guardian, but then I realized that outside of missing out on a bunch of damage from the Clear Wing Synchro, he also just wouldn't be able to activate its effect.
Necro Valley is a confusing card, but typically, if the monster special summons itself from the graveyard, you can bring it back even with Necro Valley on the field. Otherwise, you can't. Necro Valley locks it out.
Does he have any Shadal monsters in his deck that aren't just Shadal Fusion? Or
I can't imagine how Sinister Shadow games will help
He
him
takes
here.
a look,
yeah.
but there isn't anything.
Yeah, and
Goyo Guardian
he
ends this
realized
one.
that. So that was a
Yeah, what a turnaround.
that was a great
was
duel.
great.
They both played very well.
I was very suspicious of Murphy's line of play of just leaving a bunch of synchros out, but
High risk, high reward.
yeah,
at,
that was
at any time he could have been decimated by Dark Hole or Raigeki. It looks like Villanueva does not play Dark Hole. He does have one copy of Raigeki, but I don't know if he used it earlier or
No,
if
we
he just
saw it a
didn't
few
draw
times when he was searching, and it was continuous. It was always the bottom card on his deck.
So yeah, he
and
just didn't draw it.
just stayed there for the entire duel, no matter how many times he shuffled.
Yeah.
I think the big turning point of the game was when he chose not to attack over the Clear Wing Synchro with El Shadal Noitos before activating Shadal Fusion.
Yep.
Yeah, he went for the extra value of the Shadow Fusion.
Well, no, even then, this is past that turn. There was a turn where he Murphy also had Goyo Guardian, so it wouldn't even mattered that he gets rid of the Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Yeah.
Okay, so he had another opportunity to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing is he ran into that twice in a row
Yes.
with the construct.
And after watching Game 1, it didn't seem like Villanueva would be someone who get tricked multiple times by the same thing, but
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say he was tricked.
yeah, or
Like,
fall.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. He could have just been trying to do his best, hoping that Murphy would not use the effect of Clear Wing Synchro Dragon for whatever reason. But we'll see.
Yeah.
This is an odd combination of cards. One of them has all monsters, the other has no monsters. And when you get this close to the end of the round, well, the guy with all monsters generally wins.
Yep.
And he starts once again with Mathematician.
Mathematician should give him another draw via sending Squamata and then Squamata's effect sending Shadal Beast. So he's just going to try to dig for a fusion. Really the key card that gets Shadal going. Any fusion spell in his hand's great, because suddenly he can trigger all those monster effects, and they don't equate to just slow cards, but he draws effect. Those hand traps really do love him.
Yeah.
He always has
A lot of
Maxi and
them.
Effect Veiler in abundance.
Picks up Chiwen.
That's good enough, right?
Has a big pile of face-down cards to block. And
Does Villanueva use Fellis, Lightsworn Archer?
I don't think he does.
So there's no way to Black Rose Dragon with that. And then, but he did have copies of Dankosek in his side deck, right?
Correct.
So hopefully he sided those in. It's curious, though, if he did side them in, because he did also side in copies of Fire and Ice Hand, and usually you don't want to make your deck too dense with normal summon effects like that.
Well, otherwise you get exactly the hand that he's got right now.
Usually it's a little better in Shadal, though, because they can just fuse whatever away. But
And on the summon of Falco off the Mathematician, Torrential Tribute, followed by Yangzing Creation again. And suddenly, there's going to be a lot of monsters on the field, and none of them are going to be on Villanueva's side of the field.
Right.
But Villanueva has Maxi if he chose not to use it. I think Maxi there would have been very good because he gets at least...
Dig for the fusion.
Yeah.
I agree. He would draw 2 cards.
No, but it possibly forces Murphy to not special summon off Creation, too.
Yeah,
if he doesn't want to give him one more card.
I was just thinking that maybe he would just not special summon.
Yeah.
That's possible.
But now, see, this is just so curious to me. Why would you choose not to just get the 2 cards?
He might be thinking, well, let's see. At what point would he have to activate Maxi? Would he have to...
In this chain.
So he would put both effects on the chain and then play Maxi? So
And
he
get 2
could
draws
guarantee himself to draw 2 cards?
Yeah.
Maybe he's waiting for the bigger payout after seeing in the first duel that he was able to draw 4 cards or 7 cards in a given turn.
Yeah, but with how poor his hand is,
Yeah.
it seems...
Yeah,
If he's not careful, he's just going to lose.
Yeah, seems a little greedy.
Because what's going to happen is he's got Fire Hand in his hand. This field can turn into Yahtzee, which can't be targeted by card effects.
Yahtzee
or
indeed.
Clear Wing Synchro Dragon again, which was the bane of his existence in that last duel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would work the same way against Firehand.
Jeez.
And we see another creation. Double creation, once you get there, then you're
Fair
golden.
power. Yeah. here he can, I guess he's going to choose not to because he's so protected by the effects of the creations, but...
Yeah, this is a big problem for Shadow decks. If they don't draw the spell cards that fuse the monsters together, sometimes things fall apart.
Activates Necro Valley. The question is he going to Synchro Summon here?
Do you think that was better to do than Synchro Summoning first and then using the Yangzing path? Because now he can't use the Yangzing path, correct?
Correct. If he's going to Synchro Summon, he should have done it first and gotten the 2 free cards.
Yeah, and Yazi's effect is significantly... Yazi allows you to destroy a card to special summon a Yangzing, or is that Boxia?
Destroy a Yangzing monster you control, destroy a card your opponent controls.
Okay.
Boxia is the one that knocks everything back to the deck.
Okay.
Okay, so what are the added effects put onto that Synchro monster?
The only one is Possession can't switch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it cannot be mind controlled or enemy controlled or anything similar.
Fire Hand is destroyed. It can't target Yahtzee.
Pretty good.
Now, if he draws a Shadow Fusion here, he's going to be pretty happy.
Nope,
He did
Mirror
not,
Force
but-
is a good out.
Yeah, Mirror Force is not bad.
Hopefully no MST.
Well, if he gets another monster, the Mirror Force could just go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Mirror Force doesn't even matter that much, right? Because of, time has been called.
Yeah.
Time has run out. Now, he's probably going to get 3 special summons off this Mirror Force in the damage step. And that's why Maxi is being used right now.
Yeah. You probably still flip the second creation. Yeah, you might just need to push here. That's unfortunate.
Yep. Press your life point advantage any way you can.
Yeah, he is up in life points, and he's looking to deal more damage.
He's also looking to put out as many defense position monsters as he can to try to mitigate the damage that Villanueva could possibly deal.
And he's also going to bring back his Chi-Wen as well.
Oh, because that works under Necro Valley, right? Because it special
Correct,
summons
special
itself?
summons
That
itself.
is so cool.
That'll be 4 special summons.
See,
All things considered.
we scoffed at him earlier for not using Maxi to draw 2 cards. Now he gets 4.
Yeah, I guess he's getting his 4 cards
Yeah.
no matter what. He's learned his opponent's tendencies in this match.
He figured it out.
And it's something you have to do.
If you were Murphy here, would you consider not special summoning monsters? Would you consider just saying, you know what, my opponent has no cards in his back row. He's clearly struggling. Let's not give him 4 more cards.
I would put up maybe 1 monster to defend myself, another Chi-Wen,
Yeah.
because that could special summon in attack position or defense position, and that would be it.
Yeah, I think that would be a good play here, especially since they are in time, and Murphy is currently up in life points.
And here
So-
he goes. Oh, I see. He goes Bian Chi-Wen because he's going to synchro summon on his opponent's turn to summon a battle indestructible Herald of the Arclight.
Also causing him not to be able to trigger any effects, right? Because the Herald of Arclight banishes the cards that would be used.
Correct.
Okay, so in the end, he only got to draw 2 cards off of Maxi because he only special summoned 2 monsters, right?
Villanueva also doesn't realize it, right? Because here he can just respond and summon the Herald. Oh, but no. I guess if he summons the Herald, he can just send monsters from his deck instead, right? So it's actually not
Yes.
even that strong. Yeah.
No, he's going to wait.
I think that's smart.
He's going to wait and then blast the construct if it attacks.
Okay, so he drew the Shadow Fusion he wanted, activated it, summoned El Shadow Construct, used his Construct's effect. Skill
Prisoner to
That
protect
is
the
a
Necro
key
Valley.
usage.
That's
This is
nasty.
This is a very cool deck with
yeah.
a lot of cool decks.
That is exactly the sort of reason that Skill Prisoner is in this deck.
You can see Villanueva's absurd amount of frustration here.
Yeah. You can't help but appreciate it, though.
Yeah. It's just good deck building.
Like, he saw the Skill Prisoner earlier, and he's like, yeah, okay, you can use that on Effect Failure. But then they get you
With
on the Shadow
yeah.
Dragon. You're like, yep, all right, he got me.
So now
Yeah.
Skill Prisoner protects the card for the turn. It's
For
not
targeted
so,
things.
so it doesn't matter where these
Yeah.
things lie on the chain. You can't get around it.
Right, unless you get something on a Hirelink. He would have had to have another dragon somehow.
Right, in response to the Skill Prisoner.
I'm not even sure if Villanueva can now deal the amount of damage because, much like last game, the Construct won't be able to deal damage, right? Because both monsters are special summon.
Correct, he can't deal any damage
I
against
don't-
this field.
Yeah, I don't even think he needs to Synchro Summon because of the 2 Yangzing creations. He's just setting up more and more monsters and just going to run out all the... Yeah, he can't even attack.
Oh,
And we've got
Defusion
the
interface.
Defusion. Oh, jeez.
Just securing his victory here.
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's not unwinnable, but it's getting pretty tough for Villanueva to deal damage.
Yeah.
He's going to go ahead and Synchro Summon anyways for Herald of Arclight. And it'll be joined by Zafraxi.
There's a card you don't see synchro summoned a lot. You see it used with Necro's Kaleidoscope and Necro's decks, but it certainly is powerful here.
He activates Sinister Shadow Games, but whatever he sends should be banished.
Why is that?
Because of
the
Herald of
effect
the
of
Arc
Yeah,
Light.
Murphy reminds him. So all this will do is flip up his set monster.
I actually forgot about that part of the effect.
And so did Villanueva, and it's going to cost him.
Yeah. I thought his goal was in order to flip the set monster, but oh man. It's unfortunate for someone like Villanueva, who seemed to have so tight of gameplay game one, just continued to get frustrated by these other effects. Oh, and the Falco doesn't even work because of the Necro Valley.
Zafraxi's just big enough to take it out as well.
Yeah.
Mathematician
Wait, so which of those cards are banished?
does not help. It should be. It's just decked for graveyard. Mathematician is going to run into the exact same problem Sinister Shadow Games did.
Will he realize it? We do not know. Murphy realizes it. Oh yeah, he does. He just throws the Thunder King aside, clearly still frustrated.
Let's take a quick look at Arclight, make sure we've got this right
I mean,
for you guys.
Even if he hadn't used the Sinister Shadow Games, it wasn't doing anything.
Correct.
So, you know, whether it sits in his back row or sent to the graveyard, he doesn't have that many turns to deal damage, and it's just not happening.
Correct.
Mathematician manages to trade with Zafraxi, but with double Yang Zing creation, it's going to do more harm than good unless he pulls off a miracle, really.
Certainly doesn't seem like a favorable trade. Normally, you trade with a Mathematician, oh good, I get to draw a card.
Yeah.
But not when your opponent's special summoning multiple monsters from their deck as a result of it.
Even if it weren't under the confounds of being in time, I don't think Villanueva could get out of this with how much advantage that Murphy is slowly snowballing into.
I definitely agree. Murphy has a stranglehold on this game.
Agreed. So Herald is any monster sent from the hand or main deck to the graveyard.
Okay.
So the destroyed Falco goes to the graveyard. Same with Mathematician.
That's good to know.
That also renders the cards like Effect Value Maxi useless too, right? So even if Villanueva had saved a Maxi for a situation like this, he wouldn't be able to use it because of the Arclight.
Correct.
See, I did see that. I think Villanueva has a Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning of his hand. You can't summon it with Necro Valley on the field. Even if you could destroy the Necro Valley, I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, because this is the last turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Murphy declined to attack with his Suani.
Possibly playing around Gore's Emissary of Darkness as one of the few cards that might be able to win the game.
Well, I mean, it would still get negated.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
That's right.
There's not much going on there.
And Villanueva offers the handshake, and the crowd goes insane.
Yeah. That was a great match.
They really loved this match, and so did we. That one was great.
That was really, really cool to watch this deck. It was very similar to the UA deck that we featured earlier, where just watching someone who had so much experience with it played is just so cool and so much fun.
And how many people do you think before this tournament would believe that there is a Yang Zing duelist still undefeated?
He's undefeated. He does
after
have
6 rounds.
one draw, but
Has
no
the draw,
losses.
Avoided the draw here by taking this last game in time.
Yeah, and I believe even had it knock on to time.
Yeah, I think he was going to win that one.
He was winning that game, and I mean part of that is because Villanueva did not draw well. It took a while for him to draw the fusion card, but really, you know, he drew amazing in the previous game, and Murphy still won. His synchro monsters were really powerful and managed to basically overpower Shadow Fusion with its strongest effect of being able to fusion summon from the deck.
Yeah.
So, you know, those Yang Zing cards are powerful, and the new synchro monster it just makes it even better.
And think about this. Zephyrino, which you summoned a couple times, its ability is to search out cards like Yang Zing Creation and Yang Zing Path that just let you smash your opponent or refill your hand for no good reason. And he didn't trigger that effect even once.
Yeah. His deck could draw better, believe it or not, but he didn't need it to draw better. He won with what he had. He, summoned powerful monsters and just beat the Shadow Duelist.
I think something really, really cool that was showcased in this duel was how good the Yang Zing deck is at inevitability. Like, it has so many resources that even Shaddoll Fusion with full-powered effects, so
4
Shaddoll Fusion
times
every
a
time,
game.
yes,
Right.
still ran out of resources compared to the Yang Zing deck. And I think that also goes to show, like, why maybe it had a draw before and why it's gone to time.
Yes.
Like, outside of players not being familiar, just the fact that the Yang Zing games might take long because the opponent's continually trying to get through your defenses. They never can, and then eventually you just go over the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's cool. Murphy's running multiple Yang Zing paths, and he's also running Jar of Avarice to send them back.
That's part of it.
You know, he's never running out.
Yeah, he's just increasing the inevitability.
Yeah, his opponent's almost always going to run out first, unless he's playing against a similar deck that's capable of doing the same. So, once he turns this into a long game, as he was able to do in those duels, he just slowly secures his lead and manages to take the victory from there.
And the other thing is, the longer the game goes on, the more fatigued the duels become, the more likely they are to make a mistake.
That's true, especially when they're reading all of his cards, and all of his cards have multiple effects, as well as lingering effects that affect synchro monsters whose effects they already know.
Which might be forgotten at one stage by the other player. And then you could see how, like, Murphy immediately remembered the Herald of Arclight, banishing things. Just
couldn't be destroyed by
Murphy's
battle.
right on top of it.
Murphy knew what he was doing for sure. And Villanueva was no pushover either.
Exactly.
And he knew what he was doing too.
Yeah, he showcased that really well in game 1.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. Round 7 will be up next, and hopefully we can get another good one. We've been on a roll these past few matches.
Really,
this was a great match.
All right. Don't go away.